Hopefully we can do it.
Hey!
Hey! Ha!
It worked! Huzzah!
Ray Roman's watching. He's asking if it's a closet.
Yes.
Yes.
Closet what?
Me? I mean, this is the best corner of my entire office, Ray Roman, so just saying. Bro. Okay, bro. Ray Roman loves using the word bro, so like bro. Dude, okay, so we're now 4 minutes behind.
Yeah, but that's okay because I don't know why. But we're good. We're good to go. We're ready.
So.
We're live.
I want to make sure if people are watching that they can hear us and see us. So comment below real fast if you can hear Nick and see us. If you can hear and see us. Also, we know that it doesn't sound great with our mics. We couldn't get it working. I tried for like 2.5 hours this morning to make it so it would sound nice. Couldn't do it. So Jay Worsley says should change this to be how to do Facebook Live videos.
I think that is a definite need for the world.
What's up, Kaylin Rome? Dude, I'm really excited to be at Venture like in 2 weeks. I can't wait. For all of you guys that are watching or listening, Venture Workshop, ventureworkshop.co, promo code HTFW50, $50 off. I'm going to be there. Nick's not going to be there.
Nope, I'm not going to be there. Not going to be there.
But that's okay. We're going to record a live podcast. It's going to be a blast.
Yeah,
so
we're doing that now. So
yeah, we're going to do one while we're there, is what I was saying.
Oh, yeah. I thought you meant like right now we're doing a live podcast. Jay will be there too.
Jay's going to be there. Kaylin's going to peace sign.
Hey, look what coffee mug I'm drinking out of.
Hey, the Oklahoma one. Look how much I got the Kansas one. It's super cool of us that we each bought each other a mug from our home state.
Right. And if anyone out there listening to our live cast wants to send us state mugs from your state, we'll gladly take them.
Yes, just send us a direct message. We'll send you our address and you can just mail us stuff. That's really why we're in it, So, yeah, no Venture mug yet.
Jay, I don't have a Venture mug.
Oh, I see Kaylin. So,
dude, I will drink out of the Venture mug like all the time if I had one.
Yeah, any kind of mugs that people want to send us.
Thomas Brown is wondering if he can send us our bills, or send us his bills, and he can send us his bills, but we won't pay them either.
Maybe he's talking about sending us dollar bills, and yes, you can.
Oh, you can send us dollar bills if that's
good
what you're
idea,
talking about,
Thomas.
Yeah. Man, this is great.
What's up, Zeb?
Oh,
yay, audio.
Hey. So we have 16 people in here. We're almost at 12.5 listeners.
How to film wedding dozen. Hey,
and a half. Anyway.
I want to say something before we get going.
Say it before we get going.
We're on like a 30-second delay, and we see your comments come up on the screen. And so if we're talking and having a good time and all of a sudden just go, that is because somebody said something funny and we're really easily distractible. So now I just saw Jay Worsley's comment.
I went back and I listened to our previous live podcast just to kind of maybe figure out what we could do better this time.
Yeah.
And it was really funny. We'd be like mid-thought and you could tell that we were distracted. I don't know, Ray, what are you watching?
See, this happens. Ray, okay, so here's what we're doing for all of you guys that are listening. Once a month inside of our Facebook group, which you're in right now, if you're watching live, we do a live Q&A. We post a photo the day before and have you guys ask any kinds of questions that you would like. It can be video related, photo related, about us, whatever you want to learn. And we try to answer questions. And that's really it. We let you guys ask questions. Somebody just put an angry face. I think it was Ray. Nope, Nathan Proctor.
Coffee break's almost over.
Nathan Proctor is angry at us.
Why? What do we do?
Okay. So Nick, do you have the questions written down? You want to jump right into it? What do you want? How you want to do this?
You know, we had a bunch of people that asked some questions yesterday. We put a graphic on, and people were able to comment with that. So I have those pulled up. We're just going to go through some of those as you're watching this during the live cast. If you have any questions, we'll try to get to those as we come to that as well. But Ethan Calvin says, number 1, tips on how to bring in more business when you have less bookings for the year.
Yep. Okay, so this happens a lot, I think so, like where we kind of get a little bit nervous that we're not booking certain things. A couple of things just to start out with before answering that question. I think you really need to know your numbers very well. And the more years that you do it, the more you realize how many you book like each year. So like right now I'm at 22 weddings booked. And I hadn't booked anything for a few weeks and was at 19, but I knew that like I'm doing okay because I know my numbers. And so in the last week we booked like 2 or 3, but knowing your numbers is going to help you a lot. So when wanting to bring in more business, when you have less bookings for the year, it just depends on where you are in your business. Like how willing are you to get business? My initial thing back when I was getting going was always like I could go back to previous leads and tell them, hey, I'm offering a special, or like 1 shooter instead of 2. And I've said this a lot of times before in the group, is like you have to eat, you have to make your ends meet, and so there's no shame in doing whatever you need to do to like get some people on the books. So what do you do, Nick?
I don't. Okay, so there is a thing on there that I think a lot of people will say, don't discount your prices. And I think what they mean by that is, let's say you charge $2,500 and someone comes up to you and says, hey, I can only pay you $1,800. Like maybe that's where you say, don't like just drop it $700 just because they're willing to pay. But if you are low on bookings and for whatever people aren't biting at that $2,500 price range, put something out there. The next client that books gets $500 off, or, don't even publicize that, but whenever someone contacts you, you say, hey, I'm running actually a special in the month of April, and the next person that books gets $500 off. Something like that, so that you are giving them a discount, but the client doesn't know that you're giving them a discount. Kind of. I mean, they do because you told them, but you're not like discounting it because they said, I can't afford you.
Right. And another thing, that's great. Another thing too, just that's not on that came to mind, like reaching out to the people that are your vendor friends. Like I have 3 or 4 venues in town that like if I'm low on bookings, I might send them a message and just say, hey, do you have any brides that are getting married in January, February, or March? I'd love to maybe give them a special deal for you. And again, I might not give them I never just give a discount. I would maybe like move around a package to only have like 1 shooter or less time or something. But if you need those bookings, that's my initial thoughts.
Jay has a question for me, and he wonders how I shape my beard so nicely, because he has a sad, pathetic beard.
Dude,
and
have you read the rules?
That's what he says.
Okay,
that's what
okay.
No. He says that. I wasn't going to say that, Jay. I think your face is cute. I just, up there and I trim it up. And Ray, no, food doesn't get stuck in my beard. It's not like long like Matt Johnson's. I'm sure
Ray
Matt
asked,
really has to.
Ray just said, has John ever been confused for the ring boy? Come on, man. Come on. Yes, a couple times actually. I want to move.
Yes, it has happened.
I want to move to Tyler Deaton's question. Tyler Deaton says, how do you attract clients instead of other videographers on Instagram? #help.
I have no clue.
All right, I know some answers to this.
I mean, I guess if you're using very general hashtags like wedding videographer, wedding videography, cinematography, like that kind of stuff, you're probably going to get followers of other other filmmakers and other wedding people are going to probably start finding you because they're easily going to find your stuff. If you're like searching, hashtagging by specific venues, if you're hashtagging with specific or geotagging, with specific locations, that's probably going to help you find more of your brides or your couples or your clients instead of other wedding video people. Mm-hmm. So that's my tidbit.
Ray says I look 13. I appreciate that. I'm 34, so like maybe by the time I'm 50, I'll look like a grown up. So back on the Instagram question though, I think too, the one thing that I do at each wedding and leading up to the wedding, we follow all of our couples. Like, so we follow our bride, we follow the groom. And if the bride posts a photo with all of her bridesmaids, she usually tags them. I personally go in and either follow those people or like some of their photos. So when the wedding day shows up, most of them followed me back. That gets me some followers of people that are probably in my target market. But then after the wedding itself, if the couple has a wedding hashtag, if they have, like the Mayo Hotel is a really busy place for us in Tulsa. So like I can go into the location and tap Mayo Hotel and just see anybody that's posted a photo within the recent, the last couple of days. And the night of the wedding, I might go in on Instagram and like a few photos or comment, hey, it was great to meet you. It's great to see you there. And that's, a very grassroots way of one at a time adding a few people. But like each wedding, I add somewhere between 10 and 30 new people that follow me based on just going in, either liking their photos. And one thing that we do, we've been starting to do a teaser within a day of the wedding. We do photography as well. So we always have like a teaser photo from the wedding. And we try to have a few photos or videos up from that specific wedding before I go in and start liking different people's photos and commenting and telling them it was nice to meet, because they get a notification that it's like Redeemed Productions liked your photo. And they're like, who's that? They go to my profile, they see Jimmy and Susie's photo that I just posted, and then they get into our ecosystem. So
yeah, that's really good. That's a Gary V thing, like going into the geo thing and like searching.
Yeah,
and following and commenting stuff.
This month we've added 102 Instagram followers in April. So far, and so on our Redeemed Productions page. So it just every time we have a wedding, Every time we have a wedding, we do that, and it usually gets us a lot more people. Other than that, like what you're saying with like just Instagram hashtags, that kind of thing.
Zeb Blair in the actual chat asked this question. He's super new. He's filmed 3 weddings. Congratulations, Zeb, on filming those 3 weddings. And he says now that he finally has some work to show, what do you think he should be prioritizing to start getting more paid gigs?
So recently I've been doing like a 1-minute teaser within a day of the wedding, and it has been getting me a ton of traction. Like I've been doing some eye candy, just some simple, like 30 to 60 seconds on Instagram. Since you have footage now, you can really create a lot of good content based on like the wedding. You could just show 60 seconds of a first look. You could show, some eye candy, like that kind of thing. And so just now that you have actual data to show, just be consistent in putting something out there. Even if it's like 1 5-second clip that you upload as a video that's just really pretty.
That was one thing, especially for like social media presence and that kind of stuff. I always, a long time ago, I was really frustrated with photo people because they could post, literally hundreds of images from one wedding onto their Instagram feed. I was like, well, I can't do that. But then I realized, oh, guess what? I have hundreds of clips from my wedding day, and I can literally put up 1 3-second slow motion clip or something like that just to fill up my social media if that's a way that you want to go. So creating content, putting stuff out there, that should help you. If you worked with a photo person or the florist or whoever, make them a short little 10-second, 15-second video and just send it to them, and then see what that does for them.
That's really good stuff. I love it. I'm having a hard time seeing the questions. Are you on your phone seeing the questions, or are you on your computer?
No, I'm on the computer.
Okay.
I'm on the computer.
I've got it pulled up, but it's only showing me like the last 2. I can pull another one. Thomas Brown said color grading. Is it better to add an adjustment layer and edit each clip as needed? What do you all do?
Okay. So I will preface this by saying that my wife, who is in our chat, hi Jen, she does all of our color correcting, and she's really good at it. But this is what she does. Each individual clip, she colors that one. She goes ahead and adds the LUT very first thing, instead of color correcting it and then color grading it, if that makes sense. So she just goes ahead and adds the LUT and does everything all at once, and she gets it how she wants to, and she goes clip by clip to do that. I think a common misconception with LUTs out there is that you buy this pretty LUT that just came out and you add it to your clip, and it's instantly going to make your footage look good. If the white balance is off, if it's not exposed properly, whatever, then you adding a LUT might make it look like a muddy mess. Okay, so you need to go in and mess with each individual clip. Jen has tried before to color correct everything, which color correction is going to be get your white balance correct, exposure correct, your colors correct, and then putting a LUT on top of it on like an adjustment layer, and she just doesn't like how it turns out. Yeah. So she goes and adds every single one to every single clip.
Yeah, I mean that's I mean you guys are more pro on that than me. So that's what I do, but that's what I would have answered. Let's move on to another question. Kevin Fonash says, what are some fresh ideas for shooting prep, specifically guys prep? I'm tired of the same old shots, especially when the guys are pretty boring or not really cooperating.
One thing that I have seen a lot is, I'm pretty sure I've seen Matt Koza do this, or Fior Films do this kind of stuff, where they say, okay, there's the door. I want you to grab your coat and like walk out the door and kind of put it on as you're walking out, to get more movement into it rather than just the static, butting up, which, I mean, I do it. John, I know you do. I mean, we all do those kind of shots. So just kind of thinking of ways that you can show off them getting dressed without getting it, everything all set up. Another thing that I know people do is, just put your camera on a tripod and then just hit record and kind of put something and just kind of let it roll and then just kind of see what you get. Mm-hmm. And then maybe after you get that long one, then you can have them reenact a couple things. It would be a couple ideas I might try. What about you?
One thing I've been doing a lot lately is just trying to find reflections. I feel like if there's a picture on the wall that has a glass, front or frame, whatever, like to get him getting ready, but like just shooting towards the reflection only. Another thing is instead of just like standing them in front of like this big open window, like drawing the shades to where just a little portion of it is showing light and have them stand right in that spotlight and make sure everything else is dark. Just little things like that. Another thing that I did the other day, which I thought was really cool. Uh-oh. Did that cut me off? Hello? Did that cut me off?
Are we there? Are you there? You're back now.
I'm back. I have it on Do Not Disturb, but I got a phone call. Sorry. It's on Do Not Disturb. What do I do? I don't know. Okay, anyways. So one thing I did the other day talking about the groom stuff was got his cufflinks. They were like glass front, like a black, like I have a macro lens, so I was able to like focus on him getting ready inside of his cufflinks, like shoot the cufflinks. It looked really cool. So that's on the other side. I mean, the groom stuff, any type of movement is what I'm looking for. Just the putting the jacket on, having his best man help him do that, like just movement, fixing things on his own. I mean, that's all I usually am thinking about. So
yeah.
Just one sec. Cliff saying the live chat stopped working for me.
Yeah, I think that's when you got your phone call. So want to touch back. A few people are commenting in the chat here. Back to Zeb's post about getting more content and stuff. Diego Stewart said screen grabbing your images is a great way to build out content. Be forewarned, there are some photo people that really do not like it when you do that. So maybe put screen grab or something like just be forewarned about that. Lance Bullock asks, are there better days and better times to post on Instagram? There's a ton of research out there about some. I would just maybe Google when to post to Instagram and see what kind of comes up. There are days and there are times where it seems to get more traffic to post to Instagram. So maybe you want to look into that.
I'll say too that if Peyton Byford, who I had on as a working with a photographer episode, she doesn't post anything after 2 p.m. And I've just kind of, when I met with her to do a mentor session with her, she was saying if she doesn't post by 2 p.m., she just doesn't post. And that I have no idea, but I've started doing that beforehand and gotten a lot more engagement. I think the algorithm's always changing. Really what I would be focusing on is really good content and trying not to post it, in the middle of the night, but during the day, that kind of thing is whenever I do it.
Yeah, I mean, typically the best times that I have seen are literally first thing in the morning, like between 6 and 9 a.m., because people are getting up, they're getting ready for work or school or, whatever they're doing. And so they're checking their phones. The other time is probably in the, 5 to 8 or 5 to 9 range.
Yeah.
For the same reason, people are getting home. They just want to veg out. They want to relax. Thomas Brown asked a question in the chat. He said he just got his first destination gig in California. That's awesome. Nice. Do you allow the client to book your travel and reservations, or do you purchase it and then bill them?
I try to control as much of it as I can. I try to work it into the package price and just handle it all myself. I don't want them. They're going to pick the worst flight times. They're going to pick...
all they are looking at is what
cheapest.
is cheapest for them. Right. So,
sorry, Nick.
Did you get another phone call? Oh, man.
No, are you there?
I don't know what's going on here. Man, John keeps getting the phone calls, and I don't know what's going on. We're pausing. Are we coming back? John, are you back? Hello? Are you there? Are we dead?
Check, 1, 2. Are you there, Nick?
This is frustrating. No, we're still getting people watching, so maybe it's gonna hop back up here in a second. I don't know. Okay. All right. Well, good thing we're still recording on our cameras up there, so people can watch it. Oh, so frustrating.
Let's see here. I suck at phones.
Why are you upside down?
Sorry, everybody. This is the best. People still keep coming back, Nick. Stop laughing. Suck. My gosh.
I know.
Oh, man. People are...
You are one pathetic loser.
Oh,
no offense.
I dropped the phone when we first started it back, too. You're going to see it back and laugh so hard. Okay, my phone is on Do Not Disturb, and calls are coming through.
I don't know. I don't know what to tell you, dude.
Everyone is laughing because they're just now seeing all the footage of me dropping my phone on the floor. I'm so red. This is the worst thing ever. We suck.
Oh, well, Cliff Lawson just wrote he blocked off 5 hours for this chat.
That's
so
probably about how much time he needs.
Is the person calling you in your favorites list, John?
No, they're not.
Oh,
so,
okay.
I don't know how to turn off. Like, I just got a direct message on Instagram that just came through, and it's a notification at the top of my phone, and I can't get rid of it, and I accidentally tapped it last time.
No, man, I don't know what to tell you. I don't know what to say. Let's just keep powering through here. We are recording this to put on YouTube, so you can, I'm sure, watch all of that fun where John dropped his phone and it was hilarious and everything.
We were talking about booking destination stuff.
Oh, booking destination wedding stuff. If I can't remember who said that, I'm really sorry. I think your last
Thomas
name was
Brown.
Brown.
Yeah,
Thomas Brown. There you go. Remember? Okay, Thomas Brown. If you allow your clients to book everything for you, they are going to get the cheapest thing that they can find. They are going to get the worst thing. Like, it'll be one of those things where you leave at 8 a.m. and get in at 2 a.m. the next day and you're shooting at 8 a.m., whatever like that. So I would schedule everything. How we do our destination stuff is we actually just quote them a price. So, we add in, we figure in 2,000, 2,500, 3,000, whatever for travel. And then we just tell our clients, okay, with travel included, this is the price. That seems to be way less overwhelming. And then they know a price up ahead of time instead of it being, our cost is 3,000 plus travel. Well, what's your travel cost? And then people just don't like that. They like finite numbers. So if you give them a lump sum, just kind of do your research and kind of guesstimate, what airline tickets and, that kind of stuff. But that's what we do. We pick everything.
Yeah. I mean, that's what I do. I have another question if my phone works.
Yeah.
So let's see. Lance Bullock says, longtime listener, first time live Q&A question contributor. Also,
how about that?
Yeah. Hi, Lance. Nice to meet you. He's asking single shooter topics, most effective ceremony setup and strategy, lens choice, having a zoom to get variety without calling timeouts to change lenses. Just any tips on being as efficient as possible.
Okay, so I don't shoot solo. John, you do it sometimes, right?
Yeah. So I will if it's an easier venue.
Okay, so this is what I would do if I were solo shooting. I would have a wide camera at the back as high as I could on a tripod and kind of get everything. I don't want to be in that shot, but if I'm in that shot, then just so be it. You kind of have to make do. That's my opinion. And then I would be up front with a 50 or a 70 to 200 getting to processional. If the couple hasn't seen each other, I would get the bride just as she's coming up the back. I would whip around really quick, get the groom's face just so I know that I have it from my camera. And then I whip back to the bride, when she's about halfway down and then move out. And then I would take my aisle cam and I put it on a tripod, put it in the middle at the back on something like a 70 to 200 and get that as tight as I could. And then I would grab my other wide cam and put it either right below or right next to my tight one as kind of a wide shot and just have two there at the back. That's what I would do.
Yeah. I mean, simple answer to me would be have as many cameras on tripods around the ceremony as possible. I would have one on a 70 to 200 off to the side, getting the groom's face if I could, trying to get him in focus as at 70 mil or something like that, and a 4.0 or 5.6 aperture just so he would stay in focus. I'd probably let him get set and then move over to the front of the aisle to get a shot of the processional and have a wide high and wide shot just as a safety angle, and then do a little bit of moving around once we get going. But I mean, the solo shooting thing, I would be communicating beforehand to the bride and groom, do you expect to get the whole ceremony or you just want clips? Because that's something that it's if all I'm doing is getting clips, I could have one safe camera that's wide and just you're saying, whip around, get the groom's face as she's coming in, and then get the bride as she's coming down the aisle, stuff like that. So all right, okay. your turn to ask a question.
Okay, so where are we? Okay, Deanne Black says, so even if you are recording in at 30 frames per second or 60 frames per second on your camera, do you make your timeline in Premiere Pro or Final Cut 24? And if so, why?
Yeah, I shoot everything in 60 frames a second. I bring it all into Premiere, and I know you don't do this, Nick, but you can modify the footage and interpret it as 23.976. I do that before I bring it into a 24p 23.976 timeline. So the footage, I always want my timeline in a 24 frames per second timeline.
Right.
So, what's up, Henry
and
Martins?
And even when you record in 60 or 30, if you put it in a 24 frame timeline, it's going to drop frames, so it'll look a little bit smoother than if you do 30. If you want a good example, 30 frames per second is what they call like soap operas. Those are typically filmed in 30 frames per second, or kind of old camcorder footage just looks that way. It's just something about the look of it where it doesn't look as cinematic as 24 frames per second does. So there's an answer to that question. Thomas Brown, he's just kind of coming back to his destination stuff. He said, is it normal to add an extra day before the shoot? He says, I feel like I'm going to need one. Typically, my wife and I, whenever we do destination stuff, we usually get there. We try to get there, like if the wedding's on Saturday, we try to fly in on Thursday, so we just have a day. That way, if something happens with the airplane or something, like we have a whole day, to get there, but also then we can get a little acclimated to the area and explore and have some fun for ourselves. But that's just what we do. John, you there?
That's it. I'm here. Sorry, I'm just reading through some more questions. I knew you had this one.
So. Yeah. McLean asked, Carlson asked, do you guys mainly shoot on Zooms or Primes?
Ooh, that's a good question. My gimbal is on a 16-35 C100 Mark II, so that's a zoom. And then I shoot a lot of the getting ready on a 50 1.2, and I will do a zoom lens 70-200. So I do a mixture of all. I have a couple of primes, 135, 50, that kind of thing.
Yeah, we shoot primarily, I have the 35 1.4 on my C100 most of the day. My wife has the 50 1.2 on most of the day. We do have 70-200s that we primarily only use for ceremony and then reception, like toasts and dances and stuff. But for the most of the day, we're on either our 35 or our 50 primes. So, Thomas Brown also asks, why don't I modify my footage if I shoot it in 60? It's just kind of the workflow that I've done. Like, I use enough mixture of slow motion and real-time clips that I would, if I want to slow down a clip, I just go in and I change the speed to 40% rather than slow everything down and then speed it up to 250. Like, it's the exact same thing. It's just the workflow that I do.
That's good. All right. Cliff Lawson. Cliff Lawson said, John Bunn, I know add-ons have been discussed, but I'd love to recap of some of your a la carte items and pricing structure. I have like one starting package that I do now. We have 2 shooters for 8 hours and a 6 to 8 minute feature film, and that's $5,600, and that's my, like, if you're booking me, that's what you start with, and everything else at that point is something that we add on. I don't recommend this strategy necessarily for beginners, but we have enough years, behind us to kind of be in a position where we know where we stand with our pricing. But so $5,600 gets you 2 shooters for 8 hours and a 6 to 8 minute film, and that's it. And so the a la carte options, we sell it to the brides as this is what you really need at the minimum to, you need us there for 8 hours with 2 shooters. If you need us there for more time, it's $350 an hour per shooter, so $700 an hour. And that's how we kind of sell it. Hey, every hour we're there, $700. And so, 8 hours, $5,600, 9 hours, $6,300. And then, extra, anything extra on top of that, there's just an extra cost. If the film is going to be longer, if they want their doc edits, if they want their footage on a hard drive, if they want aerial coverage. And so I slowly just, I have a pricing sheet that's for me, but if they, like when I'm talking to them, if they, like when I'm listening to what they want, I'm like adding those extra things and then kind of giving them a price or a ballpark for it. And as we've discussed in some of the videos before, like, I usually book them just for the $1,000 date reservation and then set up a meeting with them 6 months out. And usually I'm booking them 8 to 12 months out. So I've got plenty of time to kind of like get to know them and what they're wanting and give them ballpark figures. Most people before booking want to know, like, what's the minimum I'm going to spend, and so we just booked a wedding Friday that they booked us for $5,600, knowing that when we talk at their 6-month out meeting, that they're probably going to end up adding an hour or two of footage or want to, maybe add aerial coverage. And so it's just more of a tiptoe into the water instead of dive in and scare them off kind of method. So,
yeah. I will say when it comes to a la carte pricing that in my experience of now doing this for 7 years, a la carte really works when you're more servicing higher end clients.
Yeah, that's very true.
I don't know exactly, maybe just because they have more money or exactly what it is, but it can add up really fast and you can make more money. But that's what my experience with that is. So I got another one. You good? Okay. Yeah. Abraham Kaluan. Maybe. How long do you have to grind before getting those $5,000 and up couples, or is it really just as simple as raising your prices?
It is definitely not as simple as just raising your prices. Depending on where you are, it's easier to charge more money in more affluent markets, of course. Like I'm sitting here in Tulsa, Oklahoma. There's a lot of old oil money in our city. A lot of wealth. In every major city, there is going to be some of that for, some reason or another. But, when I got going, I don't think I charged more than $5,000 for a wedding until like my 7th or 8th year in business. And it was a slow, steady build. Not only in just simply raising my prices, but like I would raise my prices as I got better and as I got more booked and as the supply and demand, kind of went up and down. So I have slowly worked my way into a market where like a year and a half ago, my starting price was $4,400. And so now I'm starting at $5,600. And so like it really just slowly creeps up, but I've had to, the things that stand out to me are I've had to really build a client list. Like I've had to not a client, like a vendor list, like the wedding planners that I'm friends with, the venues. So that's the first thing. And then the second thing is like just the work has to be really good and it has to continue to get better. Like you can't have really crappy footage and it look like a soap opera and people be like, I want to spend $5,000. There has to be something about what you do that's just like so attractive to 20 to 30 couples a year, whether that be an adventure style or a luxury style or a handheld style or whatever it is, but it's got to be something that's completely unique, to you. That makes you want, like somebody's like, oh, I have to have that company. When they get desperate to want you, that's when you can really start to charge what you're worth if you're creating that want and that need. And then, you've got the client list or the venues, the contact list. That's what I'm looking for. You've got your work and then the time and branding that like how are you presenting yourself at weddings? How are other people seeing you? How are the other vendors in the community? What does your website look like? What is your branding? What is your logo? What is your feel? All that has to raise with that tide. What about you?
Yeah, I think it's a compilation of things. I mean, I'm in the same boat. I was 6 years in before I booked my first, $5,000, like they didn't add on anything to the package. And so I think you have to lay that groundwork. You have to work hard for a while. You have to show that, you might believe that you're worth $5,000, but if no one's paying you $5,000, you're not worth $5,000.
Yeah.
Like I think that's a rough thing that a lot of us need to recognize a little bit. And so I know for a long time I thought, oh, I'm worth all this money, but no one was paying me that. So I guess I'm not worth that amount, Yeah. So do the hard work. Consistency. This quote that my wife mentioned to me one time was that consistency compounds. And that is whenever you are consistent time and time and time again, like you're just going to grow exponentially over and over and over again. And, if you're consistent in your postings, in your turnaround time, in your quality of films over a year or two, like if you do that for a year solid or 2 years solid, like you could probably book yourself solid, for the next 5 years based on that really hard work that you did in years 1 and 2. Mm-hmm. And so that's my recommendation. If you want to get into that, 5K plus area, then, put in the time, do the work, get it done.
Yeah. So I have a question from Jeswin Vargas. She says, and I think this is a good one for you, Nick. It says, what are some examples of shots you get with the couple by themselves? What do you say to them to get the shots you're looking for?
Okay, so how Jen and I have started doing couple time, and where we're going to go with that really for the foreseeable future, is she is going to stop shooting during couple time, and it's only going to be me that shoots, and then she is going to kind of stand back, help out, direct, and do that kind of thing. I know I've heard of other companies, doing a very similar thing where only one of them shoots. One thing that we like a lot of walking, we like a lot of movement. One that's really simple that we do quite often is we tell couples to that they're walking on a tightrope. And so they just walk on a tightrope, and we tell them, prompts like, look at your tightrope, look at your partner's tightrope, keep walking at your tightrope and look at each other, keep walking on your tightrope and kiss, just keep moving forward. That always gets some good reaction. Jen really likes she started doing this one where she says, hey, bride, spell groom's name on his nose with your nose. So they're just kind of, Eskimo kissing, whatever. One that I think is really funny is that I will say, okay, groom, your bride's neck is a cookie and you are a cookie monster. I just want you to nom, 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 like all over her neck. And it sounds ridiculous, I know, but the reaction that you get out of the bride is like laughter and really funny. So, those are just a few that we do that you can find maybe helpful.
I will add a couple of things that I do. I love movement, and I will, before we get going, I will tell them that. I will tell them I don't want them to just kind of to say, hey, we just want you moving. If we just want dance with each other, pull each other in, just be tight. And I will tell them before we get going in the couples portraits time. I will just say, hey, I know there's a lot going on. I will know that you guys are busy and thinking about things, but let's just take this next 10 minutes for the two of you. We're going to, PDA is okay. And I'll just kind of lay out a couple of things. And then I will, if they're not doing a lot of movement, I will then start to cue them. But, I'm just trying to make it really comfortable for them. I might crack a joke. I might say something, I might tell him to whisper his Taco Bell order into her ear. Just random. There's a lot of different sites and things of, little cues or whatever. But I think just setting that expectation beforehand is really a big deal.
I think there's a Facebook group, and I think it's called Promptography, something like that. Anyway, it's just photo people sharing their pictures, and then they saying what prompts that they used to get the reactions that they got. And Jen and I have found that kind of helpful because a lot of stuff translates over.
That's really good.
Yeah. Okay, John, this question has gotten asked several times, and people want to know, what is your favorite Taylor Swift album?
Ooh. Okay, so before I talk about Taylor Swift publicly for the first time, I think for real, so I'm a big fan of Taylor Swift, not just because of her music, okay? I think her music is really good, but I'm a really big fan of how from the very beginning of Taylor Swift being in the public eye, that she has done things that nobody else would do and put in the work in a way that she is crockpot. She's not microwave. She is writing her own music. She is going and showing up at fans' houses. She's responding to messages. She has done a great job. I knew from the beginning of her being around that she was going to be one of the most famous people in the world because she does such a great job of just that personal branding, that personal, when other companies or bands weren't even on social media, she was just going. Anyway, that's one of the main reasons I think she's awesome. But my favorite album's probably 1989. So if we're asking, so it's probably somewhere in 1989. Speak Now is really good. I like Red. Obviously, I like the new stuff. And Friday, she has an announcement coming out. There's a timer on her Insta stories right now. That I think she's releasing some new music. So Taylor Swift all the way.
How are you feeling about that? Are you excited?
Yeah, I'm driving to Kansas City on Friday. I hope she Hope she gives me something to listen to. So
Andy Moody said that's one tall crock pot. Talking about Taylor Swift. So,
sorry.
Holy cow. Oh, okay.
All right, let's see. What's Max saying there?
Here, back to the posing one. My wife just said this, and it's worth mentioning. She said, always gauge the couple's personality and take that into account with posing. If you have a really shy, kind of timid couple that I don't know, but to have them be loud and ridiculous, or if you have like a very shy bride and you have your groom say talk dirty in her ear or whatever, like that might really embarrass her. Yeah. Like you need to kind of take in who the couple is. You might want it might mess up their day or make them feel uncomfortable, and you really don't want to do that. So you need to have a good understanding of that. Jen, my wife, I'm thankful that I have her because she's really good at that kind of stuff.
Yeah, you have to read the room no matter where you're at on a wedding day. If you walk into bride preps and everybody seems like they just got through crying and they're really stressed, you don't want to walk in and be like, hey, party. Like you got to gauge the room. You got to gauge the couple. Like whenever you're about to do this, it's like, obviously you don't want a super reserved, very Christian couple to talk super dirty to each other. You want to pay attention to that kind of stuff. So
yeah,
good point, Jen Miller.
Yeah, she's awesome. So what McLean was asking was, do we have an Instagram account or a YouTube page or a Facebook? Like he's just wondering if our listeners need to know about any social media stuff that we have.
That is a great segue into the fact that we do have Instagram and YouTube. YouTube.com/howtofilmweddings. If you're listening or watching, you should subscribe over there. There's over 1,200, 100 dozen people.
100 dozen. Wow.
So that's good. And then the other thing, you're in the Facebook group. If you're watching this live right now, you should invite some more people to join. The more the merrier.
But if you're watching this on YouTube and you missed the actual live event, maybe you should search for How to Film Weddings on Facebook so you can join our group.
Max says, I was totally just curious.
Yeah, he was curious. He had no clue, at all about that.
Back to the questions. I don't want to touch my phone because you guys know Phone Mageddon earlier. Nick, will you scroll back? And somebody asked something about bridal shows.
Oh, Josh Freisenstoffer. Sorry, buddy. Bridal shows, are they worth it?
Bridal, just like, are they worth it? Yeah.
That's what he said. Are they worth it?
Yeah. I mean, depending on where you are in your career, they're totally worth it. They're how I got going, it's a great way to get people to know that you exist. Obviously you're going to get a lot of people that are looking for a discount at those, but I've booked some really big weddings from bridal shows.
I want to say when it comes to bridal shows, most of the ones that, at least the big one in town where we live in Wichita, Kansas, there are a lot of bargain shoppers. And that's not a bad thing. Like that's, it's like everyone's going there looking for a deal, like you were saying. And so there are plenty of brides that are willing to spend more, but I guess you just need to know that going in ahead of time, that like everyone goes to those things looking for a deal. It's almost like Black Friday, but for weddings. Like your big bridal show of the year, people are just looking to get a discount. Not everyone, but I'm just saying that kind of tends to be the stigma to them. You just need to know that ahead of time. But if you're pretty new and you don't have any bookings and you're wanting to get some bookings, definitely bridal shows are a great way to start. I don't know if they're still going to be beneficial for you, maybe year 5, 6, 7, but when you're starting out or early on, or if you're just having trouble getting bookings, go for it for sure.
Well, and I also would say, like, a lot of times after like year 4, 5, and 6, I would do them just to stay in front of other vendors. Like I just wanted, and so a lot of the bridal shows around here are $500 or $1,000. And it's like a really good marketing, a vehicle to market just to other vendors, get to see other people. And I have booked some really big weddings from bridal shows. I don't think that all the brides that are there are just super cheap. And depending on where you are, I know like the one in Dallas that is really close to here. I mean, it's like, it just depends on where your market is. Honestly, like a lot of the high-end brides go to these in different places. Jordan Bunch on his podcast does a bridal show breakdown, like what they do on the Film Mavericks. So we always point towards his content on that because he still does bridal shows. He does them really well. And so, yeah, check out his podcast. Just search for Film Mavericks on iTunes, and I think you could scroll and find it.
Yeah, definitely. This one I'll kind of handle. Juan Olivarado, probably, maybe. He's asking about a fade to our films. He's thinking about adding a slight fade via the color curve in Final Cut Pro. I don't handle color. My wife handles color, but she uses LUTs, and if there's any fades that are built, like they'd be built into the LUT that we use, like we're not going in and adding anything. It all depends on the style that you want. It all depends on the color that you want. There is no like right way to do color. There just like there is no, well, there is a wrong way to do color. Like if you're totally just blowing stuff out or the highlights or anyways. Well, all I'm saying is if you like the fade and you like how that looks and you like kind of that muted style, go for it. Like try it out and see if your couple's like that. So yeah. That's what I have to say about that.
I like it. I have a question here. Another one from Abraham Calhoun. He said, and this is similar to the groom question we asked earlier, but it says, what's your approach to get good creative content during prep? So this kind of opens it up to the bride's room. What are you thinking about, Nick, whenever you walk into or whenever Jen's walking into the bride's prep room?
The very first thing is you want to check out the lighting situation. Is there a window? Where's the window? Where's the light coming from? Is there light? If there isn't light in the room, can you go to another room? Something kind of like that. Because you want it to look nice. Like you can make a ugly room look pretty good if you turn out the overhead light and open up a window. Like you can make that happen. So there's that. The one thing that I will say that we have picked up is you need to be sure to get the lockdown nail shots. Like if you want that shot of the dress being zipped up or mom, putting on the necklace or, something like, you want to make sure that those shots are locked down, like those important ones. And then if you have time, look at something a little bit creative. Can you get a reflection off a window? Can you open the blinds, just a little bit so just a little light is coming through so the bride can maybe walk right into that light and it just gets a little sliver on her face. Like that kind of stuff. But you need to be sure that you have those other shots locked down because you don't want to spend all your time getting like one creative shot when you need those 5 other shots, the traditional shots, for your film.
Yeah. And I'll say too, just to jump on top of that is like, yes, once you get the shots you have to get, that's whenever I start to like feel like I'm a little more creative. Again, just like preemptively talking to the bride, like just talking beforehand and saying you need this much time. Sometimes brides are like, I want you to get there right when I'm putting the dress on. And if you're just like, okay, I'll get there at that time, you're not going to have time for any creative shots. So just like telling them, no, you need to be there like an hour before she puts the dress on or whatever it is for you. That's what we tell them. Hey, we're going to be here. We need to arrive an hour before you put your dress on. So whenever I walk in the room, after we've made sure different things lights are turned off, music is turned off, we kind of, again, depending on the temperature of the room, how the room, feels, not the actual temperature, but we'll just kind of say, hey, everybody, we're the video crew. If I'm pointing the camera at you, it's on purpose. Just enjoy it. Like we're here to all celebrate Jimmy and Susie. So, this is just for them. Have fun. Just be present. And, if you're in the way, we'll let you know, but we're in kind of to set that precedent before we start. That really helps set the tone because then when I'm like, hey, bridesmaids, could you guys move all this stuff? I'm going to use this area. They all jump in and they just kind of look at us as the authority in the room because we're friendly. I mean, we're not like, hey, do this, but, so that really helps me to be creative. And then the other thing that I've been really just trying to focus on is controlling light, not just sitting someone in front of a window. Like I've been pulling the shades pretty much all the way closed, minus one little spot, and then getting just a silhouette of the bride with the window, or her drawing the shades open, like just movement. That's what I've been really trying to do, is just not so much static things, but like movement. Maybe she's fluffing her dress as it's hanging, or having a shot of her kind of just like walking with the dress to go, down a hallway. Those kinds of things are going to add a lot more. And I'm not just doing whatever the photographer is giving me, so I'm just thinking, oh, let me get that real fast too. So
one thing that we have started trying to do, and when at your workshop, actually, I was talking to Phil Harbuck a little bit about this, but we have stopped. I mean, we film the dress, whenever the photo people hang it up and, get like those shots of just the dress hanging there. But one thing that is really adds a lot, I think, is the bride like interacting with her dress. Yeah. So maybe you leave it hanging up there and she can actually walk up and take it down and like carry it. Or, walk up and just like run her hand up and down it, or something like that to interact with the dress. Getting details like as they're laid flat, those look really nice in pictures, but sometimes in video, I don't think that really translates. So, like, if they have a special ring or a necklace, or, why don't you film that stuff during couple time whenever, she puts her arms around her groom's neck, and then you can really zoom in and get her wedding ring, like that way, and you can, have it, or this necklace that she's wearing, or this boot in here that he has, or maybe cufflink, something like that. Get those tight shots during couple time, and then it kind of adds just another layer to the coolness that is those details.
Yeah. And I do too. I've been doing it recently where I will have, obviously like the jewelry, the bride's putting in her earrings, that kind of stuff. I'll have her do that in front of a window, but I've been having her take her wedding ring off and putting it back on a couple times, just like slowly putting her ring on. And I'll get a real tight of her after she has her dress on. And it's like this really cool shot. And I think my teaser from Tyler and Ashley, just like a couple teasers back on my Instagram page, like I used that shot and had their names in front of it, and it looked really, like, it was real nice. So like just little things like that involve movement. If they're just sitting here like this for the photographer, like with their hand not moving, it's like, hey, mess with your earring, switch sides, like that's the kind of things. And then creatively, I'm looking for reflections. I'm looking for what things I can shoot through. Being able to shoot through a candle, or shoot through, like having the shoes set up, but having the bride sitting in a chair by the window, shooting, kind of like seeing the shoes, but they're in the foreground, like just trying to think about perspective as well.
And I don't know, try something that you can do maybe for a transition is just like whip your hand in front of the lens, kind of real quick.
Yep.
That's something you can kind of do to, kind of get a cool maybe transition from one thing to another thing. So just kind of, after you get the stuff that you need, maybe think outside the box to get something cooler. So,
Yep.
do we have any other questions here?
I feel like back. I see one about hot weather. So Lance says, in hot weather, do you just deal with perspiring your face off, or are there clothing options you guys have to combat this animal?
I will, okay, and on a hot wedding day, I think that the biggest precaution that I will take is I might wear a short sleeve button-up shirt rather than a long sleeve button-up shirt. But I think it's just one of those things that you got to deal with. It stinks that it's really hot. That's why Jen and I always bring a 24 pack of water for us, but also for our couple, so that they can drink. Because if we're burning up, I definitely know that he is, because he's wearing a 3-piece suit, out in the 100-degree weather. So bring some water and just suck it up.
A couple things. My buddy Ace one time at a wedding said he always tries to, like, even if it's cold or hot, like if it's hot, he wears a suit like the groom, so he knows what the groom is feeling during that time. Or if he's cold, he will, like, if it's cold out, we did a wedding together. He's a photographer. He would take his jacket off like to help be as cold as the bride, so he could make sure that like he wasn't pushing them too far. Yeah, and so just having that, be thinking about your couples when it comes to the weather. But like what I've been doing, because I sweat a lot. I wear a long sleeve shirt usually every time, no matter what. I'll bring a backup undershirt and a backup shirt, and usually we'll go change shirts after we get into the reception. And so just having that, and then I will wait to get my nice shirt on until I've got, like, usually whenever I get to an event space, I'll try to get some exterior shots, some things like that. I usually wait till right before I go into the bride's room to get my nice shirt on and get everything, like I'll wait as long as possible to put that on just in case I'm sweating, so I can change right before I start as well. So yeah. And then I think a question just came in. It says from Jared Sullivan. Can you see the whole question, Nick? Okay.
Yeah.
I don't want to accidentally touch my phone again. Okay. What is he asking?
He says, have you guys ever double booked on the same day? If so, what's your process look like with coordinating, scheduling, communicating with the couple and your team so that your brand remains consistent and the couple is still getting great service from start to finish? This is more of a you answer because you do multiple weddings on a weekend.
So I have pared this way back. I used to do up to 5 weddings in a day, and it was way too stressful. Which, to provide a high quality product to that many people, I just raised my prices and said there will be a couple of days a year. I think there are 3 days this year where I'm rolling 2 teams on the same day. I just booked one for May 25th that I'm already booked on, and they're getting my other lead shooter, Joel. And so whenever they initially reached out to me, I said, I'm personally booked, but I have 3 other people that can lead shoot. If you want to talk more, I would understand. So I'm very upfront at the very beginning. Like, I don't want them to book me thinking they're getting me and then not, I don't show up on the wedding day and they're like, what in the heck? So I make sure that they know that. I also don't really waste a lot of time with pricing, like trying to ease into my pricing on days I'm already booked. I just send them the full pricing list because it's like, if they want to pay me to be there, my second shooter to be there, that's great. But if not, I'm already booked. So like the bride that booked me, I had sent her our pricing. She said she was interested. She asked if she could see some films that Joel had shot. So I sent her a few links of the most recent films that Joel had led for me. And then I also throw it out there that I touch every film and I edit every film. And so I said, I've edited all of these. Joel shot these. Joel's been shooting with me for 9 years. He shot over 300 weddings for me and with me. So I kind of am reiterating that beforehand. And so before they book at all, they know that. A lot of times too, I will tell them, since I'm not going to be there, I'm going to throw something in on top of the package. I'm not going to discount the package. But I didn't do this with the May 25th wedding. But if they're acting a little apprehensive, I might say, you know what, because I'm not going to be there, I'm going to throw in an extra hour of time. I'm going to just have them get there a little early, stay a little late, just to give you a little bit more. But other than that, it's just a lot of communication. I'm the one that handles all the communication leading up to the wedding. I do all their consultations. I have them meet the person shooting about a week before the wedding and walk through all the details that I've already gotten. So it's like a Joel, myself, and the couple. And so we can just have a big conversation, a coffee, whatever, and we're off to the races. I let the wedding planner know it's not going to be me. I'm just communicating, And so the wedding planner for May 25th has worked with Joel before, and she was really excited. It's like, great, Joel will be great. Thanks so much. So... yeah. Okay.
Cool. That's a good answer. We did 3 associate weddings last year. Really similar kind of a process, but we're not doing that right now. So, but yeah, pretty similar to what you're doing. So, Edward Osoria asked, "Do you still get butterflies before an event?"
I don't.
No. I don't. I think. Randomly I will, if it's like a wedding that I'm really excited about, I might get a little flustered, and I don't know if butterfly, probably more mini stressed out really quick.
Yeah.
is probably how, I don't want to be, I'm probably not the nicest to my wife, sorry Jen, on those kind of days. But after I get in there and I start shooting, your face. After I get in there and I start shooting, it all calms down. I'm like, okay, I've done this, 100 and something times before, so I'm good. So yeah.
I only get stressed. I don't know if it's butterflies. like right before the ceremony if I haven't gotten all the audio set up that I need to, or a speech is about to happen and I don't have my light set up, or the DJ makes an announcement and they're not supposed to start yet. That's more stressful. I don't know if it's butterflies, but no, I do have the occasional dream where I'm showing up to the ceremony 10 minutes late. The ceremony's already going and I'm trying to mic up the groom during the ceremony. That happens still. So
yeah. Okay. Maybe this will be the last one. We're pushing an hour here. So Andy Moody asked, do you feel that we as videographers have settled many times for just shooting events like photographers instead of shooting to interpret the day or follow the real story? Do you ever feel there is value in moving away from the event shooting style, in quotes, to make videography more valuable to our clients?
It's a great question, Andy. I've gotten away from just doing whatever I mentioned it earlier, but like, I don't just do whatever the photographer does. I'm in a good position where like we offer photography, and most of the weddings I'm at, we are doing photography as well. So like I can kind of control the day, a very big portion of it, because like I can tell my photographers like, hey, this is what we're doing. But like just a lot of times like the photographer is posing a couple or doing different things, and it's like you just take what you get. And I think the heart of this question, Andy, is like I don't just take what I can get anymore. I'm thinking like no one else in the world was hired to do this couple's wedding. How can I create a piece of art that is completely different than like just the average guy with a camera? A lot of times, I mean, you do have a timeline that the photographer needs to be a part of, and the more communication you can have beforehand about wanting to do some of these kinds of things, the better. A lot of what we do that's different than the photographers is like the couple this last weekend, karaoke is a really big deal to them, and not like drunken in a bar, but they're like really good singers. They met doing karaoke, and it was like a really fun thing they do. So I was able to ask them all about karaoke, and they actually did karaoke at the reception, and like was able to tell like the story of that. And they were like this lighthearted, really fun loving couple. And so like I knew during the day I wanted to get some shots of that. I got shots of them, doing karaoke, and asked them both about their story and how that involved. And it's like almost its own character within the wedding. So, I mean, I'm just always thinking on that level. What about you?
Yeah. I don't think it's bad to do things the way that photographers do them. Like, I don't think that you need to come up with the approach of saying, oh, photo's doing it this way, so I have to change it, or I have to make it like, I don't think that is the case. But at the same time, taking your approach of not doing just what the photo people are doing just because they're doing it that way, I don't think that needs to be the case. So come at it, figure out ways to find the couple story and tell it, and figure out whatever that may be, and just kind of think outside of the box of what a normal wedding day is. I saw in another group there when someone said something along the lines of your business starts to suffer whenever you start muttering the phrase, because it's always been done that way, or something to that effect. And so
that's
just
philosophical.
Yeah. So just, taking it just because it's always been done one way doesn't mean that you always have to do it that way.
Yeah, that's really good. All right, we've been doing this for a minute. I see Juan's question. I'm going to answer it real fast. Any more wedding BTS coming soon? John did an amazing job on the last one. Thank you. For those of you who don't know, I did a behind the scenes solo shooting a wedding that's on our YouTube channel. I have actually filmed one more. I just need to make time to edit. It was a wedding where I had 2 videographers and 2 photographers. So it's kind of a behind the scenes of like everything that we've done. So yeah, we shot that in January, and I just have to get caught up enough to edit it. So that will be on the way soon. Be sure to subscribe on YouTube and hit the bell so you'll know when it happens. So
yeah. So
Nick,
we want to thank you all for sticking with us, and John's dropping his phone and technical difficulties and everything.
Hey, I think it's the brilliance of live. I think it's a lot of fun. I'm sorry I dropped my phone at the beginning of this video, but to everybody that has listened, to everybody that's listened and stayed the whole time, I really appreciate it. This is so much fun
we really
for
appreciate
us.
You guys.
It's really cool for us to be able to post a graphic and get dozens and dozens of questions, and we appreciate everybody for hanging out with us. It's a lot of fun. I'll let you land the plane. You can land it.
Okay. Gonna try to land this. So again, thank you all for watching. If you're listening to this on a podcast, be sure to rate us and subscribe, and YouTube, share it, and all of that kind of stuff. And thank you again for tuning in. And until next time, we'll see ya.
See ya.